Hi, I'm Tim Westerbeck, president of Eduvantis, a data-driven strategic marketing firm that's served more than 100 of the world's top higher education institutions. The Business Education Revolution podcast features conversations with the disruptors, innovators, the movers and shakers, defining the next era of business education. Today, in part two of our conversation with Jeff Brown, Dean of the Gies College of Business at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Jeff will share with us his vision for the future of business education and describe how his institution is building a business school to accommodate next-generation digital teaching and learning. Jeff, as we spoke about at the end of our last session, you've announced that you're building a new business school. We were talking about the future, and what caught my ear is that you've said it's going to be designed to incorporate digital learning and teaching and engagement as central to the experience by design.
We're just a couple months away from breaking ground on a new facility. We do have it will eventually bear the name of one of our alums, although we have not yet announced who that individual is. It is going to be about a 100,000 square foot facility. And if you wanted to think about it in old terms, yes, it's going to have classrooms and offices and collaboration space. But what makes it a investment in our digital future and our online future is really a couple of things. One is we are building 7 new state-of-the-art studios. So you and I are sitting in a studio right now in our existing building, which we will continue to use. It's one of 5 studios that we have to create and deliver our online degrees and our other online content. We're going to have 7 new studios in the new building. 5 of them are going to be, comparable in size to what we have here. 2 of them are actually going to be really impressive 40-foot by 40-foot sound stages where you can have multiple setups. It's going to feel a little bit, if you've ever taken one of those tours of a Hollywood studio set, our ceilings won't be quite that high, although they will be higher than normal. And it's really going to give us the flexibility to do almost anything you can imagine wanting to do in the online and digital space. We are also, though, building 7 classrooms, but the classrooms, in addition to being classrooms that can deliver traditional in-classroom residential experience, they are also going to be high-tech classrooms. They're going to have lots of capabilities in them, including not every room will have exactly the same technology. We expect to use at least one or more of these classrooms as a little bit of an innovative playground for us and others on campus that want to experiment with other forms of learning. So you can imagine there are lots of different ways that you can have digital setups that allow students to interact with each other in the class. And, I'm working on something in my group and then I share it up to the class. You could also imagine opportunities where you have both live, like students in the classroom and online classroom students engaging together. The idea is this entire building is going to be built for a future that has online learning, residential learning, and hybrid learning all in one. And even the traditional classrooms will have the capabilities to enable those other types of learning. A third thing we're doing, which might be overlooked, but is really important to me, is that a lot of the office space that we are building in the facility is going to house our teaching and learning teams, which includes our videographers and instructional designers. And so they're going to be embedded right there with the studios and the classrooms, and really provide an opportunity for just lots of, the cohabitation of the workday with those spaces really is going to allow a lot of creativity, both intentional and serendipitous interactions that will lead to new ideas as we go forward. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, over the years, I've spent a lot of time talking with deans about, with great excitement, their description of their business school that they're building, and It's never sounded like this.
Well, it's going to be very different. And let me be clear. This is an addition to our existing business school campus. We have the business instructional facility that we opened just 15 years ago, which to this day still looks like a brand new state-of-the-art traditional teaching environment. We have retrofit these studios into it, but it was built as a traditional building. The classrooms obviously have a lot of technology in them, but they weren't designed for a world in which we're doing online and hybrid learning. And this new building is designed with that in mind from day one. And that's what's so exciting about it. Our team, we have this amazing team in Gies, our teaching and learning team. They've been working hand in hand with our campus Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. Because one of the things that's really exciting about this building is that it is for Gies, but it's not only for Gies. We are going to make the studios and these technologically driven classrooms available to others on campus as well, because we recognize that if we as a university move together toward this online and digital future, that helps all of us. So each individual college or school on campus won't have to go and build their own studios. We'll be able to invest centrally in this facility to maintain the quality of the experience. And I'm also, as a business dean, also very excited about this, because this is inevitably going to lead to fascinating partnerships where we're able to bring content from other colleges into our programs, vice versa. And I fully expect, given the breadth and depth of technological expertise on this campus, there's going to be folks from the College of Education or the College of Engineering that are going to bring fascinating ideas to us about how we can improve our experience. So that's another really fascinating aspect.
It strikes me that we could be on the verge of sort of a reinvention of what management education really is.
I think we are. I really do. And not just because of the physical facilities, but because just the whole approach that we're taking. I mean, there's so many aspects of this. Like when we first took an MBA class and we put it online, we didn't just put it online, which, by the way, is the mistake that so many people did at the pandemic because they didn't have a choice. I shouldn't say it's a mistake. They had very little warning, and they just took their online content and they threw it online. This is what a lot of K through 12 schools did. We know that was not always a great experience. What we did, because this was several years before the pandemic and we had the luxury of time and intention, is we built the class, everything from the assessments and the grading and the assignments to what content was delivered in what way. We built it with the online medium in mind. And now what we're doing is we're building the building with that in mind. And since then, we've also learned that when we're building a course, that's not the only thing we're building. We're also building pieces of courses that can be fit together in various ways. I often talk about Lego blocks, right? I loved Legos as a kid. You could build anything with them, right? Well, what most higher ed institutions have done for hundreds of years is we've built this finished thing that was called a course, and those courses built degrees. Well, we're now recognizing that you can go both directions. You can build smaller units of content, little individual Lego blocks that can not only be used in a course, but could be used in another course, can be used in non-credit, can be used in a MOOC, can be used in a certificate, can be used in executive training when we're partnering with a firm to deliver workforce upskilling. So we're paying attention to those subunits. Then the other thing we're doing is in between courses and degrees, we're building certificates as a nod to where we think the future demand is going. All of this is going to be enabled by the technology and the human expertise that we have built that will also be housed in this new facility.
Can you talk a little bit about how you envision the student experience being different from, say, a business school experience, 5 years ago versus what it's going to be like in the future, both with this sort of compartmentalized approach to educating, compartmentalized meaning pieces can be brought together in compartments to create something different shapes and sizes. How will the student experience be different or better in this kind of environment?
Well, so it's interesting because, first of all, we've started to use the word learners as a broader definition that includes students, but doesn't only include students. And we recognize that we have to treat different types of learners differently. So there's always going to be a place for residential four-year undergraduate education for those that are fortunate enough to have the resources and so forth to be able to do it. For them, what this new building is going to provide are some beautiful new high-tech classrooms where their ability to interact with each other and with the faculty member will kind of be at the leading edge. We're also building a lot of collaborative workspaces for them. We have a lot of experiential learning projects built into our curriculum. We now have spaces for them to meet together and with clients and so forth. So that's what it will do for them. For our online degree students, it is going to more than double our studio capacity. It's going to enable us to get creative and offer more courses. It's going to enable us to work with other partners on campus to bring their content to bear, and some of that will end up showing up in our business courses, which is fantastic. And then as we look forward to the future, I suspect that we're going to have more and more high quality hybrid education. And by hybrid education, there's two forms of it. There's some of it's you come up to class some days and other days you do it online, but there's also having students in the classroom and students online at the same time. And we've learned a lot collectively over the last several years about how to do that. And so I think what it's just going to enable, it's going to give us more tools to deliver a quality education to any learner, whether they're here for a MOOC or a certificate, whether they're here for a 4-year education.
The way you're talking today sounds like almost science fiction.
Yeah.
It sounds like a vision of education that's, people would say, well, if only we could be, this.
Yeah.
Where are we today in terms of as an industry? Because most of higher education or business education doesn't sound like this today. It may be the intention, it may be the direction places are headed, but how do we bring the whole industry along in the direction that you're talking about here?
One of the things that I love about higher ed, we compete with each other for students and faculty, but we are all united in the sense of we're all in this together, whether it's a public or private institution, no matter where they are. We're all kind of united by this vision of our passion for educating the world, right? And we understand there's a huge public good aspect of that. So collectively, we need to have these conversations, share with each other what our successes and our failures were and what works and what doesn't. I host other schools on this campus several times a year who just want to come and check out our studios and see how we do things. And we're kind of an open book on that. So I love the fact that with, hundreds of AECSB accredited business schools across the country, there's going to be experimentation. Not everybody's going to follow the same model. And I hope that we will all share our experiences with one another so we can learn from that. I do worry a bit about some of the institutions that do not have something really unique about their program. They're maybe a good quality MBA program, but there's nothing that makes them feel that different from anyone else. And what they've relied on in the past is that maybe they were the only provider within a 100-mile radius who could offer an education in that way. Those days, I think, are behind us because those same students who live within 100 miles of that university, they can now go online and access some of the leading business schools in the world. So they're going to either have to learn to adapt or to learn to partner, or they're going to risk, kind of an unfortunate downward spiral.
You see sort of this partnership idea, a little more of a sort of a collective approach on some level as a big part of the future. And could we just maybe close out this session by giving you the platform to say, what do you think things are going to look like in 5 years, 10 years from now? Where are we headed with where we are now?
So I'll state up front that I don't know the answer. Just like 7 or 8 years ago when we were getting into the online business, it felt right in my gut. There were trends, there was data, but we didn't know for sure how it was going to work and how it was going to evolve. And we just, held hands and we dove in and it worked great. And so I'm in a similar place today. I think business education and education in higher ed generally is changing in important and fundamental ways, whether people want it to or not. It's going to force conversations about scale, about how many people can play in a particular space, about partnerships in a way that we haven't done before. It's easy at a macro level to look at this and say, look, if there's big fixed costs and low marginal costs of providing really high quality online education, maybe we don't need as many business schools offering MBAs as we did in the past. Yeah, I could write that economic model down. But I also understand that we are not-for-profit institutions. There are reasons to exist besides just that. But, if there's no money, there's no mission. And so people are going to have to figure out how to play in this space in an economically efficient way. And that's why I think this idea of partnerships could make a lot of sense. I don't know exactly what they look like because we care about brand, we care about school identity, faculty care about having ownership of content in their classes. But I think this is an area where we need to, go on a sacred cow hunt and try some things and see where it evolves. I used to paint a vision for people. It's been a while since I've done this. And this was not a prediction so much as a way to get people to think. And it was, imagine a world where no one school offers an MBA anymore, but rather people pick and choose the best content from each institution, and essentially they create their own MBA, right? So you could go and take a strategy class from Harvard Business School, and you could come take an innovation class from us here at Gies, and a marketing class from Kellogg, and then you could take a class that's really tailored to your industry, your geography, or what have you, from a regional school that specializes in that area. That idea is not crazy anymore. Now, obviously, the reason I'm not predicting it is there are important issues of quality control and who certifies that you've completed the degree and so forth. But the pieces are there. And the reason I challenge people with that question is it forces any higher ed leader to say, okay, what role would I play in that world? And that role could be, I could be an aggregator. That role could be, I'm going to be the best darn provider of courses and content in these 2 or 3 areas. There's lots of ways to thrive in that world. But the old model where we are all generalists and we were all just out there providing our own subscale MBA program, I think that world is rapidly behind us.
Jeff Brown, thank you very much for taking the time today. You paint a very exciting picture of the future and the outstanding work that you're doing here at the Gies College. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
I was delighted to be on. Thanks for the conversation.